Welcome to the Microsoft Security Insights Podcast with your hosts, Franklin Grimberg and Edward Walton, where we discuss Microsoft 365 security and Azure security news and products. Recorded November 10th, 2021. Good evening, Franklin. Good evening, Rod. Good evening, Brody. And good evening to our distinguished guest, Eric. How you everybody doing?
Bothering
today?
you working on your paperwork there or something there, Edward? So what's?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure something out, right? I'm trying to study, right? I gotta go get one of these GAC certifications so that I'm important in the world.
Sort of look like you were photoshopping your butt there. I don't know.
What's that? I did that earlier.
Oh, you did that? Okay.
Yeah. Trying to, I can't get the tattoos removed, so now I gotta do something else, right?
Yeah,
was that a full black ink cover page?
Yeah.
You have there?
All the
That's
ink going.
man.
I accidentally printed the darn thing like that, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
now I can't read the stuff because the lettering is in black.
Oh, look at that. I thought
That's
maybe
dark
it was
mode.
part of that government secret level stuff.
This stuff is so classified that the paper's redacted, right? You can't even. It's just, as you read it, the words disappear off the page, right? Burn themselves into your mind.
Glad you're so young you can read that. Your eyes are still good.
Dude, I got my glasses right there. My arms are getting shorter and shorter. I can't see. Hey man, how was the week, Franklin? Every time I see you, you have less hair, and every time I see Rod, he has more hair. What is going on here?
Yeah.
There you go. I was telling Rod before everything started, I actually cleared off all my tasks that were like the busy work tasks. Now I get to go do fun hacking stuff for the next few weeks before my crazy time begins. So I'm thrilled to be able to go back and play again versus doing real work.
I'll be able to get important stuff off mine. Tomorrow's a heavy day for me, but if everybody shows up and I'm booked, right, real work, and then Friday be a little bit light, and I want to do some cool hacking stuff myself, right? So, but other than that, Sentinel stuff I've been doing week. Brody helped me out with something. Thank you, Brody, on the road mapping stuff, right? It helped a lot, right? Once I got going, the creative juices started coming. I was like, oh, okay. So that helped out. And then what else did I break? Upgrading all my networking stuff to some updated Meraki stuff. And once I get all
you took your C200 cert?
I haven't.
Ed, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it in December probably. So the race is on.
I'm not motivated, man. I am.
I think we should have like a formal watch party. Brody and Edward, you should take it the exact same time, exact same day.
Oh, the proctor will love that. Yeah, if I could live stream it. Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
What day do you want us to commit, Brody? That we'll take it the exact same day.
No, I haven't started studying yet, so this is tough. And
evidently,
how can I possibly record
my
myself?
score.
The proctor's going to be like, "Oh, you can't record yourself. Like this is completely illegal." That's not going to work, Edward.
It's illegal if you get caught.
Yeah. Okay. You tell me how you get away with live streaming you writing a Microsoft exam, and I will duplicate your efforts, and then we will plan a day to do it. Okay.
That makes no sense.
We can sell tickets for that.
Yeah.
You got to schedule it for a Wednesday at about 2:00, so then we get the results at that point, right at the beginning of the.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it just before we go into Christmas break.
Okay.
Oh, come on, that's.
Well, you're a Microsoft person. That means the end of this month is Christmas break, right?
You're right.
Basically,
the end of this month is Christmas break. People are gonna start evaporating, going ghost protocol. You won't see anybody.
Ghost break.
You're gonna have problems with Sentinel with all the changes that they've made in Sentinel. Now you're gonna have to think back to the old Sentinel when you're taking the test.
Well, evidently I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I don't have any reference. So I don't have any reference about what is the old Sentinel or whatever else. So the ongoing joke, Eric, is I took the SC200, and Franklin's claim to fame is that he was one of the contributors, content creators, and all this other stuff, right? So I took it in beta. Didn't get me. I showed up late. They deleted my existence from the Microsoft ecosystem. I lost my MCP number.
He said he showed up late. You see, He was blaming it on everyone else at first, but now he just admitted to showing up late.
No, I think I said they said I showed up late.
They said.
Okay.
Who
Yeah,
by whose
I
watch?
said in
Your
the
watch?
lobby before
Okay.
someone came and got me and took me in the back. Like, no, I just came to hang out in your lobby, right? I'm a homeless person. I just like office room. That's the reason I came and sat down right here and eat the peppermints out of the receptionist bowl. Right. Then when I get there, the young lady that was administering the test, like, well, you were late. I said, I was in the lobby. Not my problem. I'll do it, but you're making me do a lot of paperwork. I'm like, okay, I mean, it's empty. You have any tests after this? No, but I have to fill this out and you're more than 15 minutes late.
Why don't you just do it remote? You can do all the Microsoft ones remote.
Yeah.
Man.
Thank you, Birdie. Thank you, Birdie.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't do it in your office because you've got
here's
like
the
a
bottom
battleship
line
of
is that-
screens there. Anyway, sorry.
Here's
sorry
the bottom
Go
line,
ahead.
Eric, is that basically they said that he never took the test. He tried to connect his Microsoft account to his whatever account, and then he got lost in the system. Then he didn't even exist for about a year. And then, then when he finally got connected back again, he actually found out that he did take the test and he got his scores.
Yeah, and so I scored well on Defender for Cloud, Azure Security Center, and MDE. And, man, I must have scored a -12 on Sentinel. They were like, "What are you doing? Are you purposely getting the answers wrong?" It's like, I don't know.
And every podcast he talks about Sentinel, but he scores -12. It's like,
Oh my
who is
God,
this
it was
guy?
horrible, man.
Like, are we talking about a different Sentinel?
First question was, how do you spell Sentinel? So.
Yeah.
And I spelled it wrong. Probably.
Yeah, that was the end of it.
That's the problem with adaptive testing right there.
Yeah. Oh, this guy's done. We're not going to score him anymore. He can't spell Sentinel. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Beyond that, did some cool cloud app security stuff. Trying to lab out some scenarios that Brody and I talked about earlier in the week. I'm gonna have some cycles, so I really want to try to test that out.
I think I got it too. We should talk. I think I got it.
You got it? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think I got it dialed.
Did you send my letter?
No, it's on my list. My wife got a kick out of the fact you wanted me to send you a letter. Yeah, so I'll include random white powder, and you'll have your letter sometime.
Yeah, send me. Yeah, send the letter.
Yeah. Okay. Because I could use one of your test laptops. Actually, I think I broke my demo tenant. I'm trying to prove out endpoint DLP on those scenarios I was telling you about. It's broken. You've got a demo.
Yeah.
Oh, laptop.
You need a Dell PC. That's it.
A Dell. Yeah, I need a Dell. That's the problem. My VMs aren't cutting. I need a Dell. Thanks.
I have a.
Why is anybody using? Why are people using physical hardware here? Why aren't we not?
I know, because Edward's like, well, the reason it's not working is because you can't trust Microsoft demo tenants because someone else controls them because he's a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'll take a physical machine, I guess. But I run everything on Hyper-V and I prove it out. And up until I completely broke the compliance center and made all of my policies appear as GUIDs, everything was going great.
There you go. See, if you had a physical machine, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, you're just making that up. Yeah. Sentinel,
-12. But he couldn't get the VM inside Azure or Hyper-V to work. I said reboot it.
I did. Yes, it's a long story. Don't let's save it. Let's save it.
Remove the extensions. You'll be good.
Yeah.
So
Franklin, what about you? What did you do? Well, you already told us what you did. Rob, what have you done this week?
I haven't done a thing. I'm just trying to clear my plate for that last week of November, so you don't see me again for another month and a half.
Me too. I'm out.
And you've improved your office view, Rob. You've modified your microphone position. You've backed off your camera. You've improved your lighting. Don't think we haven't noticed. You're going pro here.
Look at that chair back
I could even. How about that? There's a little. I have a full studio set up here now. So
nice.
I've yet to get this dumb Yeti that Franklin convinced me to buy to work.
Well, Eric's streaming from the forest. It looks like so. That's awesome, Eric.
I am. Thanks.
Yeah.
I see Franklin has a green screen. I have a greenery screen.
Greenery screen. There you go. Hey, so we talked about what Brody and I were trying to break with MCAS and tenant restriction scenarios. Franklin didn't do anything this week, atypical. Rod didn't do anything this week, unusual. And me.
Oh, he's pumped out a lot of content. I have to spend an entire day catching up on just 1 week's worth of his blog, and then
I'm gonna put a request in. He's gonna have to get this stuff converted to audiobook because I just reading. I needed.
I would love that. I would love if he did all audiobook. Yeah.
So speaking of which, we're starting a brand new news show weekly, and I'll probably record it tomorrow. So yeah, everything that I'm doing from a word perspective, it's actually going to be a live news show.
I'm hearing competing podcast, actually.
No, I do not
very-
want to go down the podcast route. This is very succinct. We have a timeline. We have different segments. It's done. There's no commentary.
It sounds like Microsoft Mechanics.
Yeah.
Rod,
you
I
know,
look
they're
forward to your
actually-
audio version. Thank you.
I saw that they're folding channel 9 into Learn TV.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
So
Well, what's the name told us that? Nebs? What's his name?
no, you didn't know about channel 9 back then. That's just new.
Well, it's
I
been
sort of
around
knew
for-
about it. Yeah, I
yeah,
sort
it's
of knew
been around
about
for
this.
a while. It just happened though.
Yeah, I sort of knew about it. All right, guys. Well, man, it's good to catch up. Seems like I haven't seen you guys since last Wednesday. We have a good guest on today. We have Mr. Erik Snyder, who has an extensive, information technology background and very pointed security background. He's a technologist and a geek around security things like Franklin is, right? Lives in Easton stuff. And he is a security practitioner who claimed to fame, or the latest claim to fame, that he was one of the, top guys at RiskIQ. So rather than me butcher what RiskIQ does, I'll let him talk about who he is, what he does, what his passion is, what RiskIQ is, and how his involvement in Microsoft came to be, and how we tricked him on the podcast. So with that being said, Mr. Snyder, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Edward. Nice to see everybody, meet everybody. Brody, I like that background you have. Looks like you've got a new mark. Is that an NS7 behind you?
Wow, good guess. Yeah, the NS7 II, the NS7 I sold to somebody who wanted to do music events at his church. So that was nice. And I wanted the 2 because you can get 4-channel mixing, even though it's on 2 platters. But it sounds like we need to geek out another time on this topic.
So that's my other passion outside of geeking out in cybersecurity, is on that side.
Cool.
Just a little background. Again, Erik Snyder. I'm a GBB now at Microsoft. So happy to be on the same team that Edward's on. And
what's the GBB?
Well, again, I'm still learning what exactly that role means. You're supposed to tell me that, Edward,
A
right?
global black belt or some sort. That is friendly speak for Fall Guy. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Did you go through your Dynamics 365 training when you started? No.
Not yet. I do not have the full D365 repertoire down yet.
That's okay, Eric. Keep going with your intro. Don't listen to these guys.
I expect to soon. So as Edward mentioned, I've been in cybersecurity for over 20 years. Got my CISSP, I think the same year you did, Edward, back in 2002. So it's been quite a run up to where I'm at now. The past 5 years, I've focused mostly on visibility and being able to capture and feed data into different tool sets and look at things at a large scale. So I spent a couple of years at Gigamon and taking data off the network, off of multi-cloud, and putting it into different usable formats for tools to use. And I joined RiskIQ in June of 2020, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, great group of people. Lou had an incredible vision to be able to make the internet a safer place, and it's worked out well. Right after I started RiskIQ, I started working with Microsoft as a customer and partner. And so that was enlightening, to say the least. Working with the Mystic team, working with other teams within Microsoft that were consuming the RiskIQ data. And just to kind of set the stage on what RiskIQ does, our superpower is about having a data lake, or a bunch of data that we've collected over the past 10 years of all the internet assets out there. So things like IP addresses, we scan the entire IPv4 space, much of the IPv6 space. We're looking for all the web assets that we see. What types of components are we seeing? And we compile that into a large data set, and then run a bunch of machine learning as well as other correlation engines, including human research against that. And then we can profile what types of threats are out there across the global internet, and then take that and be able to apply it to particular attack surfaces that may be related to customers. So companies out there, this is the attack surface that you've got. These are the types of things that you need to look at. And then it started out more as an investigative tool. So being able to look and investigate what was going on. And it's evolved into more of an entire threat intelligence feed or threat intelligence platform. And then you can easily pivot into that investigative part. So the difference between RiskIQ and what we do with the data is that we don't just score it or just talk about open source information, that threat intel. We can actually apply it to something that is related to particular companies.
Can you give me an exact use case?
Sure. Well, there's multiple use cases out there. So again, I think we talk about Sentinel. That was one of the things that we've been doing for about a little over a year and a half, is trying to integrate.
Don't tell me you create watch lists on Sentinel for threat intel. No, forget it.
No, so
you don't know my story about my history with watch lists.
Frank has a love-hate relationship with watch lists.
Let him answer the question.
I'm happy to hear more about that, I think.
Go ahead, Eric.
But enriching so taking what's in Sentinel and then enriching that data with maybe it's articles, or maybe it's a reputation score or other information that you gather from RiskIQ. So it just makes that information feed in Sentinel much more powerful.
Mm-hmm. So you've talked about what RiskIQ can do. Do you have any insights for our listeners to build a mental picture of how does it do it? You're saying I'm scanning cloud assets, I'm scanning user activity, I'm scanning, what is the atypical deployment model for someone to consume the RiskIQ product?
Yeah, so it started out with a community of 100,000 researchers and practitioners out there using it just to do threat investigations, and using projects that we had built into the UI to do that. And these days it's being more consumed by API or through something like an integration with Sentinel, where you're getting that data through a pipeline or through a playbook or through a different mechanism than actually going physically in and just typing in, hey, tell me about this IP address, tell me about this particular URL.
So the API integration and be able to scrape telemetry and then manifest it in some type of visualization. Yep, that's the framework. I can get that. But let me get a little bit more layman. I'm a customer. You are a sales engineer at RiskIQ. You come to me and you convince me, yeah, I need this. But if I don't have Sentinel, what about other integration points? Competitors to Sentinel, such as Splunk, QRadar, ArcSight still around. Is that integration still accessible to that via the API?
Yeah, it absolutely is. In fact, we had QRadar integrations, we had Splunk integrations prior to the deep development and partnership that we did with Sentinel. So those integrations are still there and can be used. You can also use it. We have a lot of people that are looking at it with our Python, analyze our Python libraries and building that into Jupyter notebooks. Maybe they're doing it along with something like Mystic Pi. So it's not necessarily only within the Sentinel realm.
Okay. So I'm trying to get more into notebooks, and we had a guest on the show, Chi, and I need to get a better understanding. It looks like they're trying to simplify, and I want to use the word dumb down notebooks. I think some people have the misconception that it is overly complicated. It's not. It's just that there's not a real clear-cut way of deploying it to show immediate use sort of case. I think I'm saying that right. But all right, I'm new. You come in, you've done your pitch with your PowerPoints. Yep, we want that. No, we don't have any logging methodologies. We don't have a SIM of sorts. Can I still consume your product?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So we've got a fully featured UI that you could just buy it standalone and utilize it that way and get a lot of value out of it. So you can go in there and use it as your daily dashboard on things that you want to see as far as your attack surface.
Is it a survey or reconnaissance that's agentless? How do I put it on things, or how do I scan, or am I totally missing a point of how the use case for this evolves? Where do I put the collection compute to be able to pull this stuff in from the big bad internet?
Yeah, absolutely. So it, on the standalone aspect, it's all run in our infrastructure. So it's not something that you've got to install an agent. You basically just point it at the question that you want to ask, and we're gonna deliver the answer on it. And let me actually, it was funny because I was a couple of days ago listening to Kevin Mandia talk, and he talked about seeing smoke in different places, right? And I actually was on a hiking trip recently up to a mountaintop that had one of those fire watchtowers on them. And actually this one, now they rent it out as like a glamping place to stay overnight. But it's an old watchtower. And you think about what those fire watchtowers were used for. It was to get up high, survey and look about an entire valley or entire area of land and see if you see any smoke. And if you do, you call that in and make sure that fire gets put out quickly. And that's kind of what RiskIQ does. We're that fire watchtower. We've got that global view from the outside looking in. Where if you look at something like Microsoft Defender, that's more like those smoke alarms in your house. You know, they're going to tell you that there's something going on inside. And if you've got that combination of both of them, now you know, is there any smoke out there that I need to see from the outside and take a look at and remediate it quickly. And then certainly if you tie that together with the internal, you know that something was going on from afar, and you hear the smoke alarm going off in your house, you know, something's got to be done very quickly. So that's my layman thing that came to mind just a couple days ago.
It sounds like, smells like, flies like, swims like Yuba. Is this using entity or entity behavior type of activities, or is it just strictly looking at a known set of malicious type of activities that you then go, oh, based on what we have is what's the name, IOCs or TTPs, this is what's happening. How do you guys classify your table of activities to alert upon?
Yeah, and there's a number of different ways you can hit on certain tags and so forth. We also have what we call CTI, or Cyber Threat Intelligence module, which is basically that's a newer aspect where we've gone out and profiled or fingerprinted those ATPs or those nation states they're very problematic. Mm-hmm. And that kind of gets into what value that Microsoft saw in RiskIQ, as well as some of the things that we're able to do and see from the outside and understand what those look like. Again, some of it is TTP, some of it is open source information that's out there that we're seeing, and others is our own research that we're doing. And now combining that with the research that's inside of Microsoft just exponentially makes that greater.
I saw the thanks for explaining that, Eric. Eric, your colleague Steve Ginty had a great presentation at Ignite where he broke down some of the three sort of major events that took place in the last year or two, and how your organization was able to contribute to the overall story and work with partners like Microsoft in order to get people the information they needed to address those. I just think it's a great analogy you had there, the fire watchtower element, right? So what a great story now working together between the organizations through this acquisition. So you must be pretty excited about this opportunity.
Oh, very excited. I mean, I was heavily involved in all three of those, so I kind of saw them kind of come up, as well as how they were able to be worked within Microsoft. So that was it. It's a proud moment to be able to see that. you know that you're making people safer every day, especially if they've got Exchange servers that are out there. If there's a nation state that is attacking people and you're able to help them find that more quickly, definitely is a good feeling.
What's the lift? You know, does the lift and the deployment depend on the customer size, or is the effort for deployment ubiquitous regardless of your size? It's consistent.
Yeah, no, traditionally we've had a combination depending on the exact product set. Some were usage based, some were seat license based. And so as we move forward, we're seeing more of a usage based kind of model from a commercialization piece of it. Mm-hmm. But I think the value that you get out of the data is definitely easily offset with the cost for it.
So 2 more things around cost and use and consumption methodologies, and we'll move on to another question, Tech. So when I hear usage, it sort of makes my mind go back to old school flat rate, right? Use it, lose it, it's just a flat rate. This is how it is, right? Then you said you had user base, which tends to be like, how are you tying that? Is that a SKU, or is this applied to user identities and entities? Which is that correct in my assumption? That if I'm looking at usage, that's flat rate, and then if I'm looking at per seat, that's tagged into a log-on context, or?
Yep, you're exactly right. The seats were to a log-on contact. The usage was around, say, how many API calls, API queries you would hit.
Mm-hmm. One last thing on the licensing piece, because I know Frank loves licensing. So, do you have to be a Microsoft consumer to consume this product? What if I'm not a Microsoft shop?
No, it certainly doesn't need to be a Microsoft shop. In fact, there's users from other clouds, other companies throughout the world that may not be a Microsoft customer in whole or in part right now. So there certainly can be consumed by anyone. As we know, things are going more diversified as far as not wanting to be locked into a certain technology in some cases. But I think at the same time, the things that we have better together with RiskIQ and Microsoft solutions are going to show where there's probably more value together than using individual separate tools. But it's certainly not limited to just Microsoft. We have people across the board.
So when I look at it from that standpoint, hold on, I lost my train of thought. Okay, you don't have to be a Microsoft consumer because it's not directly tied into any of the Microsoft products, right? But what I'm trying to put my head around is well, actually, I'll keep it very simple. What is the interface into your product? Is it to once you have been onboarded and you log into your portal? Oh, I know what I wanted to ask. I was taking notes. I looked down just now. Would your product be classified as threat intel?
It is threat intel. And again, it's something that we're providing threat intelligence, and we're also giving the ability to then go take and make it actionable.
Okay, now I get it. All right. So let's pivot back to Sentinel. It's the configuration of RiskIQ and the integration of the API. Where's the integration point in Sentinel? Is that inside Sentinel and go down to TI and then go through the configuration? Are you guys classified as a threat intel source?
Yeah, there's some of that is in the works still.
Oh, okay.
But let me jump in here. You don't want to import all that data into Sentinel, like the threat intel sources that you have now that are bringing in the data. I mean, I'd imagine that RiskIQ has a little bit too much data for you to pull in. So, am I right about that, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the next question is now since you've had all the easy questions, here comes the hard questions. All right, Microsoft has this thing called the security graph or something like that that has 1 million trillion Dr. Evil level of telemetry in there or indicators or whatever. And basically, in theory, Rod, our fusion rules should be accessing that information to figure out what's going on. So what value are you providing that the Microsoft security graph does not already provide?
No, it's a great question. So the first off, we have been feeding some components of the Microsoft security graph for some time. As a tangible example, things like Microsoft Defender Smart Screen, I guess used to call it just Smart Screen. So much of that we were feeding information in there. So something would be blocked almost immediately if that something was flagged in there that we found malicious out. As far as the difference between is now you can go ask questions. If there's something that you find within that graph, you can go ask questions and see what the RiskIQ data, again, from that high watchtower, what we see about it, and get additional information, make a decision on what to do. Is it something that you need to block? Is it something that you need to then go investigate further? It's and a lot of this is around trying to reduce signal to noise, right? You want to have a better lessen the noise and take those signals that are really important and bring them to the top.
So basically, with inside a notebook, I have an API that I can call, set the parameters. Hey, tell me about this domain. When was it created? All that other fun stuff out there that I can help figure out what I'm doing with inside the notebook. There's nothing direct with inside Sentinel other than using notebooks to access the data.
Right, not currently. We had built it into notebooks, but that's obviously I think that's going to be changing soon.
Yeah, I think there's still a solution. One of our content publications, there is a RiskIQ. I think I forget which one it is. Solution, but it's all playbook based. So,
and what is this passive total thing?
Yeah, and so that's more what so passive total, we've got an entire data set that's underlying, and we use passive total. We actually have upgraded that, or have a superset now, what we call Illuminate. So that's what adds in the CTI capabilities, some higher volume capabilities than what just passive total alone was. In passive total, if you just go in and sign up for a free sign up, that's the community. You still get a lot of functionality, but it's limited. It's kind of a freemium if you want to think of it that way.
All passive DNS stuff and additional
so
stuff?
And I didn't go into all the things that we collect into that data set, that tens of petabytes that we've got out there, but we do have passive DNS information. We've got flow data that we're capturing from many places. And we've got, we've got who is information registrars. We've got all of the SSL certs, cookies. We track all of those things. And then we interrogate those web components that are across there, and we're able to capture those and correlate them together.
And for our listeners, what is passive DNS and why is it important?
Well, passive DNS is important because we're pulling passive DNS for many places across the.
Well, what is passive DNS for?
Yeah, so we're actually capturing the DNS requests as they go across the network or the internet.
Is it sorry to cut you off. Is it DNS resolution request, or is it DNS response request from an authoritative, meaning someone's looking for Microsoft security insights, right? And it resolves to our website and all this, or is it seeing the request that's being offered back from a DNS server?
So we get both of those.
Oh, okay.
And we get all of the DNS information that is related to it as well.
And why is DNS important in threat intel and forensics?
Well, the obviously DNS is one of the main attack vectors that we see out there, right? Whether it's domain takeovers or other different types of attacks, those are, it can give a lot of really rich signal on what's going on.
Did you guys detect that Facebook would purposely have BGP issues to change the conversation? Or was it, in your opinion, was that legitimate? I couldn't tell. I talked to some networking people.
Heavy question.
So you have this RiskIQ community edition. Is that just UI based, or is there an API call for that you can use?
It's primarily UI based. We do offer some limited API capability as well.
And what would be different in there versus what they could get out of the Defender threat intel side of, I forget what it's called within side, M365 Defender. It's the threat intelligence area or threat report or whatever it's called.
Yeah, intelligence feed.
Basically is that the same data, or is there something additional that someone might get by using the community edition?
Well, the community edition is going to give a limited number of searches and a limited amount of historical value. So how far back it goes. So imagine a couple weeks versus going back 10 years, being able to see that. So that's the difference between the paid and the community version.
So on your website, go ahead. I have a different question.
No. That he answered the question. I got it.
I'll ask Eric. Eric, what are you most excited about with this acquisition? How do you foresee the data enrichment enhancing beyond what it already is today? Right, you said you've been feeding this, the intelligent security graph signals. So this new enhanced relationship between Microsoft and RiskIQ, how do you see that enhancing the products and enhancing the intelligence overall?
Sure. Well, and it's interesting as you go through an acquisition, there's sort of a quiet period where you can't exactly do a lot of things together between the companies. And as soon as that switch flipped and we were able to be a part of Microsoft, we saw our research teams going together. So imagine we were pumping out a handful of articles at a time with a smaller research team. As soon as the Microsoft and the RiskIQ group got together, things were just flying out there. I mean, it probably 10x the amount of information was flowing. So that's just one example, but I see this just becoming way more powerful.
Cool.
So
is it?
One more.
Go ahead, Frank. I'll write it down.
You're right. Yeah, we're both so old that we'll forget if we don't ask it. See, I already forgot. So on your on the website for RiskIQ, it talks about understanding the attacker's infrastructure. So tell me more about, if I give you, oh, look, here's this IP address. We know that they were attacking us. Can I give you that IP address? And you're like, oh, it's this attack group and here's their infrastructure. So look for these other IP addresses and other attack vectors or indicators. Is that what it provides?
Yeah, it's like you're throwing me softballs here. Yeah, exactly. So if you feed an IP address, then you're able to pivot and say, okay, all these other IP addresses were also related, and they were using these particular hosting providers. They're using these trackers, so you can go and kind of investigate them really quickly and understand, maybe make connections that you weren't able to otherwise.
Is that available right now for us inside the API for notebooks?
Most of those things are available, yes. There are a few things that aren't completely in the API, but they're in the works. As an example, we just recently added the reputation scoring. So you can go out and see what kind of a reputation score, and we're giving that a score based on parameters that we've got out there to be able to see what that is. And in comparison to what just a scorecard, you actually get the data behind it, something that you can action. You can go and actually get more detail around it rather than it's just bad. You know why it's bad, what else they're doing, what else they're using. So you make better connections.
So outside of Sentinel, sorry Edward, outside of Sentinel in the M365 Defender space, seems like you know a lot of the ins and outs and how the integration is going to work. what can organizations see if they're not a Sentinel consumer and they're just simply leveraging like the XDR solution in M365 Defender? How is this new acquisition going to help enhance that overall experience?
Yeah, so we actually built some endpoint pieces with Defender in there. So there's an integration in the Illuminate that you can actually click, block immediately and have that 360 feedback loop.
Cool.
So some of that's already built in, so you could use it. That's outside of having to have Sentinel.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the majority of your reconnaissance passive or active? Meaning, are you putting in honey whatever's, put whatever name behind it, token, pot, person, entity? Or are you putting taps across the world? Because I'm sort of thinking that you guys got to have a massive CDN type of deployment or some type of partnership to be able to do this stuff. How are you doing that?
It's right. It's not a CDN per se, but it's something that we have built out thousands of exit points throughout the world that are actually capturing this information, seeing it from different perspectives. So it could be on the mobile space, it could be on a commercial IP addressing, it could be on home IP space. So residential, so we have some proprietary methods that we're able to use, that there's some patents and things around it that actually go out and are able to interrogate things looking like a user, and it's not just a standard bot, so it actually acts like a user would, does things that normally could get blocked by other bot detection systems.
Okay. It sounds like you guys got to have some type of agreement and a little bit of the public trust or community trust, especially if you approach someone and says, hey, we know that you own this IP space as a carrier ASN or something. How about we do this for you, right? We like to be able to use you as a tripwire of sorts across the big bad world, and did RiskIQ do like a barter system? Allow us to use you as a tap point, and you get the service for free. You may not be able to answer that question, but I'm trying to figure out, how did you deploy all of this stuff, right? I guess that's how you guys came up with the good ideas and started a company, right? Like, hey, I got an idea.
Yeah. It's like that invention in the one Batman movie where he's turned every phone in Gotham into a sonar and he can get all the intel in Gotham. That's RiskIQ.
Eric, please don't say you guys did that.
Yeah.
No, we're not we don't have that capability, but what I probably can say is that we have some great relationships and some great, and there probably was some bartering that's gone on. I know that we really value data, and people value the data that we have. So it's easy. And a plug, we actually have a group or a team that goes and actually works on gathering that and making some trades. So anybody willing that has great passive DNS, that has flow data, that has other information they want to share with us, we'd love to talk to you.
So what is flow data?
So that's actually NetFlow.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And what is NetFlow?
So NetFlow is that's, again, maybe cybersecurity side of things may not be as understood, but most networking people understand NetFlow. They're using it to troubleshoot. They're using it to see what's going on their networks. Source, destination, what ports are going on are captured in that NetFlow. And so that we can actually bring it in a couple different ways. But we've had a partnership with Elastaflow to be able to pull that directly into the platform and gather that information. So you can actually see, based on your flows, what is going out to problematic infrastructure out throughout the world.
NetFlow. It's somebody on the call enlighten me on that. Does Cisco own that product, or is that open source? Who owns NetFlow?
Cisco started it, and there's a couple different versions out there, but it's become, I believe they open sourced it some time ago so that it can be used freely. I mean, it's used in other products outside of just Cisco. I know that.
Does your product ingest useless information from Sysmon?
No,
doing that to get Franklin's attention. Then he goes and get the Ninja Cat. So to our watchers on Twitch, Franklin has a real Defender Ninja Cat. What's up, Ninja Cat?
Vicious cat. Yeah.
I know.
Erik, okay, so based on this passive data that you're collecting and how long you been with RiskIQ? Sorry.
So it's been a little over a year and a half now.
Cool. Okay. And anything obviously that you can share? Is there an interesting trend or a change in some of the telemetry that you're seeing out there, like from a holistic sense that you've noticed is kind of like a shift lately, based on previous Intel phases and events that have happened over the last year or so?
Yeah, I mean, definitely what is top of mind for everyone is around these nation state attacks. The other part of it is being able to see what third parties have, as an example of SolarWinds. What if I do business with someone, did they have SolarWinds? Were they compromised on that? So we've been pushing a lot of that to be able to see what's going on for other attack surfaces besides my own. We normally focused on just what's mine, and I need to protect that. Now I need to actually protect other people or know what's going on with other people because they're that important to my business.
Right. And I'm sure your intelligence can help with attribution of who, what, when, where, and why when these events occur as well. So yeah, obviously working with not only major tech companies, but government agencies as well to give them what they need in those events. That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
And Brody just broached a cool subject. What's the insertion into the government side, the agency side, 3-letter agencies, well-known things, DoD? Does RiskIQ have a footprint there, or did you guys stay on the commercial side?
It's across the board. We're used anywhere that people were practitioners, researchers, whether it was in academia and looking for threat types of research out there, or whether it was agencies. Again, I wouldn't be able to talk about agencies if they were customers, but
of course,
those types of individuals that do that work are very very interested in what we have to offer and how we do it. Even within Microsoft, there's teams that are very advanced and we're using and are using our data and our services.
Okay,
cool. Andy's got a question in our chat saying, what training place to look info so they can get up and running
with the product or with the intelligence feed capabilities itself?
All of the above.
Yeah,
I was going to ask the same question. Yeah, that was my next question. I scratched that off.
Yeah, and RiskIQ as a small company, we didn't have a real full education system set up. Certainly nothing like the way Microsoft does, but I can see that we probably will have some things in the near future to be able to get that up. I mean, there's YouTube channels, and actually the way that RiskIQ mostly would help people understand and learn about it is through what we call threat hunting workshops. And prior to the pandemic, we would do those on site. We'd go to a company or to a university or someplace in an auditorium and do a full threat hunting workshop. So everybody'd sit there and hack away and looking at things, and then could physically ask questions around it. In the past couple of year and a half, 2 years, we've done those primarily virtually. And we actually just had one this week that was in combination with Microsoft XDR and the RiskIQ Illuminate.
Was this for the customer? Sorry, Edward. Was this with a customer, or was this internal to Microsoft, like a webinar?
No, this was an external webinar that we conducted.
Oh.
Now, I think because of some of the sensitive nature, I'm not sure if the entire thing was recorded, but
Okay.
we have an archive of those too out there that are great to go take a look at.
I'm going to go look for that because that sounds really interesting. And if you didn't already know, there's there's a massive internal community of security individuals at Microsoft, but there are almost once a month an opportunity for any element of the business to kind of demonstrate technologies, features, capabilities to the broader community. So I would say, if you want to get in touch offline, there's some folks maybe who would be interested in a allowed, without private information necessarily, opportunity to do a threat workshop internally just for Microsoft security individuals. So that's really cool that you run those. I'm gonna look up where that link is and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So RiskIQ threat hunting workshops. That's the.
I believe the very first time I got exposed to the name of your company was did you guys do something with Black Hill Security and Countermeasures? And I think I saw it that you had some type of webinar or training with your product. I saw it way before Microsoft announced the acquisition, so I was aware of your company. Well, let me ask another quick question. How old is RiskIQ?
So RiskIQ is over a dozen years old. So Lou started the company with a couple of other brilliant people to, as I said, make the internet a safer place. He kind of saw this vision of where things were going and that this data was going to be really necessary, and being able to build those connections from a global network of sensors or sonar points.
So what is RiskIQ going to do that Facebook has left the internet and went into the metaverse? Are you guys going to police the metaverse now and watch for nefarious activity in the metaverse?
There's a hologram of a RiskIQ analyst in a corner of a virtual bar, just listening, right, and like taking in all these conversations. Yeah,
I can see it sort of like a Star Wars thing, right? Boba Fett is a RiskIQ guy, right?
Yeah,
sitting in the corner of the bar.
So, do you do it? I think they're called ISACs or something like that. Do you do anything specific to work with industries to say, here's the major attacks going on with inside the industry through the ISACs, or do you do your own thing, industry specific?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily formal, but I know I've spoken at FSI SACs. We have a lot of vertical kind of structured or related relationships. So in healthcare, in financials, in other ISACs, we've had a lot of involvement, both sponsorship, being able to get the word out.
How do you go about? You just can't say everybody needs your product, right? What is the sweet spot for the product, right? I know that anyone can use it and consume it, but what is the sweet spot for those to say, hey, is it size of the company, the line of business of the company, where they operate? Is it an industry, or is it doesn't matter?
Yeah. So, where cybersecurity is more prevalent or has a higher impact, things like regulated industries and places that have a lot of need to be sure that they're secure, we've been the most successful. But as Brody asked, where are we going to? What excites me? We mostly sold to the larger size companies, and those were typically our customers. We have community users across the board, but they weren't getting all of the value. Now that we're a part of Microsoft, I can see the value of the RiskIQ data and that product being more prevalent to smaller and medium businesses that wouldn't be able to get access before.
Yeah, and just building on Ed's question, so do you know when RiskIQ started? Was it targeting a specific sector, public, private, and then grew from there? Like, where are your roots as an organization?
Yeah, the roots were more on the larger company size.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair. And go ahead, Frank. Go ahead.
Did you have specific licensing for MSSPs, or how did that work with that market?
Yeah, the MSSPs were definitely utilizing our product. Again, some of that was through usage based, because seats, if you're passing them, but we had MSSPs and do have MSSPs that will contract on behalf of their customers and utilize the RiskIQ data, RiskIQ system.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Man, yeah, I get it. I think when you and I talked earlier, I sort of made a generalization and comparison that I say sounds like Shodan, right? I'm out here and I'm scanning, instead of scanning for Amazon S3 buckets, you're scanning for whatever your
Everything.
Yeah, whatever your triple, everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you that though. Where does the data reside? Your data center's got to be massive.
Petabytes is a pretty good size, but as you know, we have this pretty nice cloud that we can put things into here. So,
what, Oracle?
Alibaba.
Alibaba, right?
It's all stored in an old Access database.
Yeah. Scale over the Access database. So I had to imagine. Well, let me ask. It's part two of that question. Once a customer subscribes to your product, and let's assume that they are an enterprise customer, which seems to be your sweet spot, where does their data reside? Meaning,
so again, think about that. The data that we are collecting is anything that the attacker could see, anyone can see. This is
public
out
domain.
Wild on the internet.
Public
You
domain.
asked the question before. Do we create? We're not trying to use logging information. We're not a threat and vulnerability scanner per se. We're going out. We're looking as any user could, and then pulling and collecting that information back, and then making inferences and correlating that together.
okay. So you built the framework out, you built the company up by expanding it, trusted relationships, public trust, consolidated data. It's something anyone do, but your biggest thing is that you're an aggregator. And then what makes RiskIQ is the IP that you put on point. Like anybody can gather information, but this is what we do now, right? All right. Well, let me ask you this question. Who are your competitors?
Or friends. They don't have to be competitors. They could be colleagues in the industry.
Frenemies.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been interesting because in cybersecurity, even people that are friends can also compete. I think that there's Palo Alto has some components that have been seen as competitive to us, but I think that we do things differently than what others do. So I think we've got a little bit of an edge up on most of the competition out there. You talk about Shodan. There's others that do pieces and parts of what RiskIQ does. They don't have that holistic view. They don't have the same amount of data. They may not have the historical part of it. They may not be able to pull all the other information together. And we're able to put it together, put it into something that's usable and actionable for people.
Well, it sounds as though you did enough of whatever you guys did or do. I'm interested in the project. I think that Franklin's interested because it sounds like watch list, and he's all about watch list, right?
So one quick question: were you the ones providing the data for so in Azure Security Center, when you had an alert, if they had information about it, you could generate a threat intel report in Azure Security Center or whatever it's called today. Were you the ones providing the data to show that campaign information? Do you know?
I am not positive on that, but I can say that we were providing data to Microsoft.
Let me tell you something that's disturbing.
They're feeding the machine. Their big data is feeding Microsoft's big data to the same
big
data party.
That's disturbing. I've been around Franklin too long. I'm actually in Azure Security Center about to ask that same question. I have it up right now to see how are they doing that posture. I got it up right now.
Technically, you're not in Azure Security Center.
I'm in Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and I'm looking at recommendations.
I want to tell you, Rod wasted 15 minutes of my time the other day. Really drove me nuts.
Rod, do you know how much he makes? Do you know how much he makes per minute? You wasted 15 minutes of Franklin's time.
He posts a screenshot of Microsoft Defender for, was it Sentinel? What was it?
Microsoft Defender for Sentinel.
Microsoft Defender for Sentinel. I'm like, they updated the portal as Microsoft Defender for Sentinel. So I go out to one of my portals. I'm like, no, it's not. I went to 4 different portals trying to find it, and come to find out he screenshot.
I photoshopped it.
Thank you, Rod. That is a troll and a half.
I love that.
That is amazing. And you got Frank of all people. That's so good. Yeah.
And frankly, you deserve it because I see you in my environment doing bad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to call you on that. I'm like, what is Franklin doing now? Right.
Make me an account. Make me an account. Hold on. Okay, Eric, I got a question for Eric. How do you threat intel? This overall area of work that you're in sounds really interesting. What's your background? How did you get to where you are, and like what kinds of people do you look for to kind of join the team these days?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, like I said, I spent quite a few years in the infrastructure side, so building large data centers, infrastructure for Web 2.0 and cloud providers. And then I transitioned more into the visibility side of it. So looking at being able to get visibility into AWS and Azure and other clouds. And then this threat intel side has been really interesting in building that up and being able to help people defend against this massive problem that we've got.
Yeah, that's cool, but it's like a calling, right? It just speaks to you. Yeah, I can sense your passion on that. That's really interesting. Well, the threat intel part's always just, also coming from an infrastructure background, never getting into threat intel specifically. It seems like it's far away, but also close in the cybersecurity space because I just need to learn more about it. And it's just interesting to hear people from different backgrounds, either maybe from policing and investigations background, like private investigators, or techies, right? And how they get into it. But yeah, it sounds like a really interesting industry to be in for sure.
We generally reserve this question, only to those who are been ingrained into the Microsoft security product groups and practitioners. But since you guys are acquisition, I don't know what your exposure to the Microsoft security workloads, but it sounds like your product mimics some of the intel of one of my favorite products. So before coming and being acquired by Microsoft, what was your favorite product inside security side Microsoft, right? Whether it be M365 or Azure, that closer resembles that. Was it Microsoft Cloud App Security? Or was it Microsoft Defender for Cloud Applications? Or was it Cloud App Security? Was it Defender for Cloud Applications? I mean, you can choose from those four.
Yeah, well, as we see people move from the on-prem infrastructure into more cloud environments, it's something that it's almost seems foreign to them that they've got to go now secure this in the cloud. So I think the cloud defender side of things was really interesting. And as I said before, we were looking and working together with Sentinel, and I go way back to the Q1 Labs and some of the early SIM products, and to see where we are now versus where we started 15 plus years ago, it's really interesting to me.
I haven't heard Q1 in a long time. Yeah, golly, yeah, you dated yourself. So that's interesting. You got your exposure, integration in that, and your favorite product was Cloud App Security. That makes sense. To be able to use Cloud App Security as a way to sort of pivot where you guys were going, and which is probably the reason you guys got acquired, to augment that outstanding product. So I get it. Right? In addition to Sentinel, right? You can tell which one of our products
your favorite product is.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But this is really good. I've been bouncing around. So let me ask this question: how soon and where will your product manifest for consumption in the Microsoft ecosystem? Is it an Azure product, or is
going forward?
Going forward, where do I go find it?
Yeah.
So, where will I eventually find
it? I'm not even privy to all of that's going on the engineering side, but I can tell you, I think you're going to see it throughout the Azure and Defender side of things. You're going to see RiskIQ sprinkled into all of that.
Nice.
So we're going to call it Microsoft Defender for Cloud Intelligence.
I like it. I think
it sounds cool.
It's a marketing term right there.
What SC certification number will that be, Edward?
Oh boy, yeah.
That's going to be one of the advanced ones. So you can't even take that until you pass the SC 200. So I'll never take that exam. There you go. I think we're going to call it Microsoft Defender for Cloud Threat Intel.
Oh, add
That's
the
cool.
thread.
That's cool.
We have something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, you have to figure out how you're going to change your name to Microsoft Defender something.
Yeah, you're gonna have to figure that out, man. If you figure that out, you'll get a promotion at Microsoft.
Eric, and honestly, if you sprinkle throughout all these different dashboards and areas, your average SecOps individual, maybe they don't have time to kind of go get feeds or to, take a look at the bigger picture. That's really going to help, right? For people that like live in those environments, but just don't have the cycles to maybe think more holistically or get more holistic signals from outside. That's great that you're going to be enhancing those experiences.
Yeah, make it easy. Make it less code work, less trying to decide which feed and which Intel source that you look at. Just be able to get it all right out of the box.
And then we can also go with my third one on the list here. Microsoft Defender for Internet Threat Intel. Mid-fitty. Mid-fitty.
Got to be a cool acronym.
Or if you had not been acquired or integrated, you could just say a better defender. I thought that'd be a good marketing.
Oh, wow. Rod, you say one thing in 30 minutes and it's brilliant. Look at that.
I know, right?
That's why they pay you the big bucks.
That's why he makes the big bucks, right?
Yeah.
He only comes up to the plate to hit home runs. He don't bat for average. Waiting for the fence, baby.
I've been
waiting for the fence.
Having audio problems with my microphone all day. I really don't like Windows 11.
Okay, your cough came out very clear, so it sounded great.
I pivoted back too, man. Everything is all soft now, rounded out, soft, Yeah, I can't go back now.
I'm not reverting. That's silly. Sorry, Frank.
Yeah. My Dell notebook can't actually run Windows 11, so
TPM chip problem. Come on, bud. Yeah, you can bypass it. You can bypass it. Anyway.
Richest guy on the phone, man, won't spend a couple of bucks, right? but
it's
I
working.
tell you,
but it's working. Come on.
For Popeye's chicken and Chick-fil-A French fries, he'll spend all his money.
Come on. It's the machine's working. Why change it, right? I mean, come on.
That's fair. Then if you have a legacy customer on legacy hardware, you can have a test.
All of my 90% of my compute power is now in the cloud. So why do I I have one VM that I run for pen testing and that's it. So I mean, I just don't need the hardware that I used to because I just spin up a VM.
We talked about this. I'm reducing mine, man. I'm either donating it, selling it, getting it away. There's still a market for metal. So I'm getting rid of this stuff and I'm getting better because I used to have a massive heat exchange in my basement. Not anymore. Yeah. I mean, I do some water coolers down there, but everything's good. Hey, Eric, this has been super informative. I think the biggest thing about our podcast is that we don't try to give all the answers and try to condense the 12 years of an existence of a company into, 45 to 65 minutes. But what we like to do is generate the interest in customers to go do their own research, right? And so anytime that we can amplify what you're doing, you send us your social media, your blogs, your industry impact stuff. We will promote it through our podcast. Brody and I don't have any followers, but Rod and Frank do, right? So they can drive it, right? Putting Brody and I on here will tell people to go to your competitors, right?
For yourself, bud.
But hey, thank you so much for taking time out. Any closing notes that you want to see here and say, hey, I want to convey this about this is one thing that's give me one of those trivia bits. Give me something that give me some insider trading, man. You know what's going on.
Or plug RiskIQ. Why are you better than everybody else?
Yeah, why are you better? Just say it. We're just better than everybody else.
Yeah, we're just better than everybody else.
We're better than Microsoft.
Why do you think we're acquired by Microsoft?
Yeah, they had to buy us because they couldn't be us.
Right.
Again, I was involved in some of those conversations of when Microsoft was looking at expanding the relationship with RiskIQ prior to acquisition. And there were conversations around build versus buy. And I think RiskIQ has something that's difficult to build out there. And we've got something special. So I think that's why it's worked well for Microsoft. And it's going to be something that's now that we've got this investment, obviously the huge cybersecurity investment that Microsoft's making, I think we were a part of that, number one. And number two, if we keep building on that, I think we can beat these adversaries. We can win this war.
I asked a lot of rhetorical questions about the history of the company because I wanted to make sure my research was in line to what the actuality of, and you validated what I've read. But I like your company because I like the histories, how things come to be. You sound very much like Akamai, and I'm a big Akamai guy, CDN, and that's how they built, right? You got to imagine what their infrastructure looks like. They literally have a sub web or an upper web on the way they deliver content, right? And when I saw that, I was like, they had to go through the same headaches of building these trust entry points. Akamai has a lot of trust points, right? People just give them the benefit of the doubt and allow them to do certain things, right? Beyond the scope of this conversation, but I like the way RiskIQ came up through the ranks. And any well, not every company, but maybe the goal is to be acquired to become bigger, better, and faster, right? Microsoft has had a pretty good track record lately of acquiring companies and not ruining them.
Yes,
right?
Agreed.
They've gotten much better in the incubation, and then it doesn't look like a bolt-on. It looks like general immersion in changing of the DNA to not just not just sew an arm on, but take the actual DNA and make this person or make this thing bigger, bigger, faster. So I'm cool with it, man. I'm going to learn more from you. I'm a shareholder. I have to be cool with it too. They call me.
That's fair. We're shareholders.
Is that cool, Ed? Can we buy RiskIQ?
I'm sure they call you. They call you. When you're 100 years old, you must own a lot of shares, right?
Yeah. Let me look at the balance sheet here. Let me look at my proxy vote.
Eric's a shareholder now. No, I don't know if you are.
He's a shareholder. Yeah. He was telling me about his 20-foot yacht he just bought. I mean, a 50-foot yacht he just bought. No, that's a small yacht, right? Then you said 120.
That wasn't me, but
you sure? Okay.
Different
I
Eric.
was you. You were just telling me how you were out just sailing the river with your son and fly fishing off the bow of your ship. He's screaming, "I'm the king of the world."
That was a canoe, by the way. But
canoe. Okay, all right. I thought it was
20 feet though. It's 20-foot canoe.
Yeah, it was.
If you haven't figured it out, Eric, I'm the official embellisher of the group, right? These guys have no creativity, no imagination, right? So we'll do it, man. On that note, we'd like to be cognizant of your time. I know it's still early for you. You're out on the West Coast, outside Seattle. And but we really appreciate you taking time out on short notice. You are welcome to come back to this podcast at any time if you want to convey your additional messages, talk about improvement of products, talk about the evolution, anything you want to talk about. You don't have to wait for an invitation. We may even ping you to come on and host a show. I think we've got better viewership and listenership when Franklin and I are not here. So when they go, those two yahoos on vacation, Rod and Brody or Rod and Nathan or somebody else that. Please be a fan of the show. Go back and listen to some previous things, and then keep an eye on some of the upcoming guests. We're going to get the nefarious Matt Sosman back on. Shadia is going to come back on and talk about ADX. Nathan Swift has agreed to come back on and talk about some of his products. I'm also trying to get a guest about a new thing that Microsoft is doing, but I didn't see it last week, so I can't say it on the show. But if it is public knowledge, I'm going to get this young woman to come on and talk about something that I thought we should have been doing a long time ago. Product group individuals are calming down. Ignite is over. Everybody can get back to normal, right? And so we got to get that out. But anytime, listen to the show, ask any question. You and I will talk at least once a week, right? Mm-hmm. And play catch up. Rod, any questions from you, sir?
No questions exactly. I'm just really looking forward to how all this is going to feed into the system. Talked about earlier, how am I going to see this? My guess is we're not going to see it at all. It's just going to it's just going to bolster all of our security.
It'll be the background compute and the operational platform that feeds into the threat intelligence, which is our ML and AI. There you go.
Yeah, but
it'll be the intelligence of our intelligence.
But you're missing one important point here. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be used to detect attacks, but you also want to learn about why you're being attacked and who's attacking you.
Good point.
And then that additional intel, so you can deal with your own risk management side, is an important information more than this is just a bad IP address, that sort of thing. So,
and I agree with that. I'll give kudos to Franklin that my security from a practitioner agnostic to technology, since I've known him Frank, we almost know each other 3 years, right?
Feels like 70.
I know. Like, God, this is the heaviest friendship I've ever had. So it sounds to what Franklin was saying that you're being attacked not necessarily because of what you know, it's who you know. I get you and I can get somebody else, right? And I'm not as strong in the defense as Rod. I'm not as good as the offensive as Franklin. I don't know really what Brody does, but I can social engineer my ass off. I can get access to your environment and start plugging stuff in, right? So you better have knack to tell it. Yeah, I can really do it, right? So hey,
Right.
if I'm not gonna pat myself on the back, who will? Franklin won't do it. He won't even meet me out for dinner, right?
Eric, please come back when Edward isn't here. We'd love to have you. Thank you. It's been a very enlightening conversation, and I learned a lot, and we shared some of your links out. So thank you very much. I'll be checking out that playlist for the next few weeks now in my evenings. So thank you.
I will too.
All right, Edward. Don't get
for
in
having
trouble.
me. This is great.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Till next week.
Go next week.